Yes.
I often look at these.
So what's the objective here?
All right.
When you put together this panel, you said, how do indies get noticed in magazines, TV, on the web?
Well, I think it was kind of, I think there's a lot. Well, I'll speak from sort of what I know so far, which is kind of the argument in the App Store. There's a lot of big production companies that are kind of, I think, doing most of the business in the App Store. And so there's a question of sort of how, as an indie developer, do you compete with that? And I think that's probably the same for any environment, any distribution channel, whether it's apps or PC games or whatever it is. So I guess this is just sharing some ideas about how you can get some attention, some PR attention, and what are some different avenues that you can take as an individual to try and increase your exposure out there. And I'll tell you, I'll start it off with a little anecdote of mine. I've been developing an app called 3D Checkers. We did it like 4 times now, which it has done pretty well in my my own definition, which means it's been downloaded over 100,000 times in the last 2 months, and it was rated on Touch Arcade as the best checkers app for the iPhone. And the way that I got that interview on Touch Arcade is that I went to WWDC last year, and I was super excited about this app that I was about to release. And I was just buzzing with energy, and I was just kind of walking around, hey, what are you guys doing? What's this event? And I stumbled into a Blake spot on Touch Arcade, not even knowing who the guy was. And I asked, hey, what's this event that's happening here at this bar? And he said, oh yeah, this is we do this sort of game meetup thing, and we've done it a few times, and it's pretty popular. And I said, oh yeah? Wow, I just finished this game and I'm so excited about it. It's really cool. And I pulled it out and I said, really, I think it all starts if you're proud of what you've done. A lot can start from that. So I was excited about how this game, does things differently. The interface is more natural. It doesn't get in your way. Blah blah blah. And I showed it off, and he was jazzed about it and said he would do a review. And then I bugged him 3 more times throughout that conference, and he put up a review, and that was great. And I think that sort of, that's not going to do everything for you, those reviews. There's sort of some questions, I think, in the community right now as to what's the best way to get PR, whether, being reviewed on a bunch of these different websites is the right way to do it, or if there's other approaches. But what it seems to me is that you've got to have a lot of different angles, and I think that was a good starting point in order to get my first probably 2,000 to 5,000 downloads. And those downloads all came from a community of people who were really kind of experts on what's happening in the App Store right now. So it was people that were, they were spending a lot of time online in this community, sharing new apps as they came out, giving everyone their opinions, which ones are going to be the next stars, which ones weren't. These were the kind of the people who are self-identified experts. And from that community, so this is kind of another angle of it, it wasn't just getting this review, I also posted stuff in that forum and sort of tried to kind of, get people to engage there. I got people to beta test the app inside that forum. So that combination, I think, sort of helped start it off. And once those guys were talking about it and sending it around, and I got retweeted a few times and things like that, then the app had a chance to kind of like speak on its own merit. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But
yeah, so I put up 3 words: network with the press, which we actually haven't done the way that you've done it, which is to actually sit down over a beer and to make a personal connection.
It doesn't always work. There's, especially if, those guys are usually pretty saturated. There's a lot of people going up and saying, "Hey, what's up? I loved your tweet last week."
Well, but I think, I don't think you want to use anybody, but if you have something to offer somebody, like, I don't know, in your case, something people.
I think it was just.
FaceTime is not always good, I guess, right? So one thing that we did, definitely something I recommend everybody look at. If you go to YouTube and look up marketing for indies, if you haven't seen this, it's a video from a presentation that a guy named Russ Carroll did.
You guys know Russ Carroll?
Yeah.
I just.
This was like GDC, like 2006 or something like that. And he did a presentation called Marketing for Indies, and he really kind of stresses on a couple of points, and this is one of the first things that Ichiro and I did when we started working together. I had no prior experience working in gaming. He's been doing this for a while. Some takeaways were, you want to take the time to write press releases, but write good press releases and send them to the press. But also make sure that, so first of all, when I say good press releases, they have to stand out. Look at what other people are doing, and then look at what you're doing. And if you see 10 press release headlines on a page and yours doesn't stand out, then you're wasting your time. So it's got to be good. But beyond that, if you send out one press release and one person responds, don't be disheartened. Keep doing that. One of the points he made is to keep touching the press. And the first time they see it, they might say, "What's this game called?" All right, yeah, fine. Second time they see it, they might say, "Oh, here's these guys again." And maybe the third time they see it, they say, "Okay, fine. Why do I keep hearing about this? Let me check it out." And so he talked about the importance of multiple touches and the importance of finding different ways to have people hear about the game. So you might talk about it on Twitter, you might have a Facebook page, and then you send out the press release, or you send out the press release and then you start the Twitter and Facebook, and then another press release goes out and you're like, okay, I've heard of these guys, I don't know what it's about, let me look at it. And that generally we found that to be true. With our initial press releases, we got some people excited about it, and then in subsequent press releases we've had people like PC Gamer come to us and say, okay, so what's this about? And so we've been able to get higher profile press, we believe, by some of the multiple touches. So that's one point I've made.
So that's, so kind of the counterpart to that would seem to be, people need to hear about it multiple times. That's kind of like in marketing, I think it's like 6, like 6 is supposed to be the number that someone will buy your thing when they've heard about it and thought about it like 6 times, then they remember it. Maybe not buy it, but they're like, oh, well, I've heard about this a bunch of times. What is that? Let me figure this out. So the counterpart to that is you have to keep beating the drum steadily and using whatever tools you have consistently, right?
We do have a caveat on that, which I think we screwed up on that.
We don't know for sure.
Not the way. Well, okay, we can talk about it later.
No.
But
screw up.
Well, now I want to know.
Yeah.
Well, we think that we gave away too much of the juicy stuff too early.
Okay.
So the initial excitement was awesome. YouTube views of videos we didn't even, before we even had anything playable, we had all these views and stuff. And then later on, some of the things that we thought were really exciting, didn't seem to get as much interest. And we think that people say, oh, well, I've already seen that. I played the game, I played the alpha, I played the pre-release. I know enough. I'm just waiting for the final game.
Okay.
And so lately, we've sort of toned it down a bit. We said, well, we're just going to put out the game at this point. We've said enough. We've done enough.
Yeah.
We're in radio science.
Well, radio science. Well, you guys are seeing more than we plan to tell anybody between now and release. Our goal is from now on talk to our Facebook people, talk to our newsletter people, talk to people who already talk to us, but don't reach out for any new press until after the launch of that.
Okay.
So we're not sure if that's the right thing to do, but looking at some of the other indie studios, because we did a sort of survey of what others have done, and with that sort of naming names, there were definitely studios that put out just little snippets, just something interesting, an image, a fun video, without even saying what the game was called, what it was about, and they just gradually built. Each time it's a huge step.
That's a good idea. Just start with that image.
So how do you put something out? You mentioned putting things out to press. What does that mean?
Literally press releases. For us, it is, we went through a ton of websites, right? We looked at you name it. Think of a gaming-related website, ModDB, you name it, and look for the contact info and find the thing that's contact us, get that email address, and just find as many of those as you can. So we found 60 different email addresses for websites, people we don't know at all, and just wrote a very interesting press release that we both, were cracking up about and said, this is really fun.
Actually, I think that's something that indie studios can do a little more.
Yeah.
Do you guys do press releases? Have you done a press release?
No, I haven't yet. But that's also I just haven't been paying as much attention to my marketing as I need to.
It's amazing what you can do with that. I mean, the first press release basically said, this is the name of our game. And of course, the name of the game gets people kind of like, what the hell is this? And that was enough for the first press release. We said, here's the name of the game, and here's 3 rough prototype videos that we stuck on. Did we put them? We did put them on YouTube. And that's pretty.
That's kind of a lot, right? I mean,
it's more than we want to do next time.
A lot of video of.
Well, it was 3 fairly rough videos. A lot of it was the voiceover, and talking about the video and making it sound interesting. But it was more than we actually had in the game.
Sure.
There was nothing to actually. There was very little to play at that point. But the point is, ultimately, we wrote a press release, sent it to 60 emails, and then just sat there. And I kid you not, we sent it out at 11 p.m. By 7 a.m. the next morning, I had 3 responses saying, "Hey, this song's really cool. Tell me more."
Yeah, and we were up. I mean, that one piece.